The black raven of Ikos looked at the girl sitting on the sand. The raven was unusually large, and for the coast it was not a rare bird but still strange. The girl sat motionless, not taking her eyes off the sea. Dawn was dawning, and soon the beach would be filled with vacationers. The raven quietly flew up and took up an observation post on the roof of the store. The girl didn't move. "Hey, what's wrong with her?" a woman asked her friend. "They came to meet the sunrise on the beach every morning." "Maybe she'd had too much to drink," suggested the other. Both came closer to the girl. "Young lady, are you feeling ill?" the woman asked. "Girl?" She put her hand on the girl's shoulder and immediately pulled away. The stranger's skin was cold and unpleasant to the touch, and a second later, the girl suddenly began to slump on the sand. The women stared silently at the body lying at their feet. "Call the police," the woman said to her friend in a hushed voice. "She doesn't need the dawn." The resort town, drowning in greenery and surrounded by mountains, was frightened. The people of the town were telling each other the terrible news. Never before had anything like this happened in their town. A third girl was found dead on the beach. Law enforcement is baffled because there's no evidence of a murder. The first dead was written off as natural causes, the second, but the third is a series. All three girls had sudden cardiac arrest. "Mark my words, there will be more victims," whispered the market vendor. "They'll scare away all the tourists." "That's right, we have to do something ourselves. Our police only chase grannies with cherries from the beach," the other one grinned. "A maniac, or maybe some kind of visiting maniac, or maybe a local." "No, a local would have been found out by now," shook her head. "We should go to Zarina, let her draw maps, take a look, don't tell anyone about it. You know they don't like fortune tellers and witches." "Yes, it's the 21st century," hummed the peddler and turned away. Her name was Rita, and she had a fruit and vegetable stand in the market and a cafe on the beach. Her husband ran the cafe, and she was here at the market. It's not a big town, the locals know each other. The population lives off tourists, and there was nothing here but sea and mountains. Zarina appeared in their town long ago, living alone in a house on the mountain. She was rumored to be a witch, and a witch doctor. Once she saved a local boy who had badly injured his leg and was bleeding terribly. They thought he would bleed to death, but the doctors were not coming. Zarina whispered some words over the wound and the blood began to flow slower, and when the ambulance arrived, the bleeding was over. That's where Rita went after the market. The heat was gradually decreasing, a pleasant breeze was blowing from the sea. The road to Zarina's house rose steeply into the mountains, surrounded on all sides by forest. It was a pleasure to walk along this road, birds singing, coolness. The house where the Vedenists lived was built under the Tsar, when the first sea resort in Tsarist Russia appeared here. Despite the solid age, the house promised to stand for another 100 years. From the terrace of the house there was a stunning view of the sea. The hostess was on the terrace, picking berries. On the table was a large bowl, half filled. "You have a serious question for me," Zarina said calmly, without turning to the guest. "You know already, that's even better." Rita sat down at the table uninvited just to rest. "Sit down, cool down. I'll get some compote, I made it this morning." Zarina went into the house, and Rita involuntarily admired the view. Zarina returned, holding an old deck of cards that she had inherited from her mother. Skillfully shuffling the cards, the woman got to work. Rita sat silently, not asking questions, waiting patiently for an explanation. The fortune teller frowned, clearly not liking what she saw. "It's not good. What's wrong?" Rita perked up. "A maniac? What are you talking about with your maniac?" Zarina waved at her. "There's witchcraft involved." "Is there anyone new in town, apart from tourists? You're the main news radio in the market. It's not funny, but we have our finger on the pulse. Anything goes, we're all over it." Rita was a little offended, but in her heart she agreed with Zarina. The market is the main place of gossip and gossip of the city. No need for newspapers. "So, what's up? Remember who?" "There was a kid who got a job as a photographer at some hotel. No one else in sight," Rita reported. "What about the kid? A sorcerer? How would I know?" Zarina replied irritably, deepening her thoughts. "Go home, I need to look at the cards and to consult. The next one's coming up." At these words, Rita crossed herself and tried to leave the place as quickly as possible. "Make the background music suspenseful background music."